Keith Urban and Nicole Kidman for nearly 2 decades. Their love story seemed like something straight out of a modern fairy tale. They were beautiful, talented, and deeply devoted to each other. From red carpet glances to affectionate interviews, they gave the world the image of a couple perfectly in sync. But even the most perfect pictures can crack. And now, after years of whispers, their marriage has come to a quiet and heartbreaking end. The newly surfaced divorce documents reveal a story that's not about betrayal or anger, but about distance, exhaustion, and two people slowly drifting apart. It's the kind of ending that doesn't explode. It fades. What's most striking about their separation is how quietly it happened. Keith signed the papers on August 29th. Nicole didn't sign until September 6th, and then she waited nearly a month before officially filing. That timing tells its own story. This wasn't a sudden breakup. It was the result of long conversations, emotional exhaustion, and quiet acceptance. They didn't rush into ending their marriage. They thought it through, tried to make it work, and when it didn't, they walked away with dignity. When the story broke publicly weeks later, fans were shocked. After all, this was the couple who once seemed unbreakable. But the paperwork tells a very different story. It shows how long they'd been preparing, not just legally, but emotionally. According to the documents, both had already worked out every detail: custody, finances, assets, and even holidays. It wasn't messy. It wasn't vengeful. It was clean, professional, and calm. That alone shows they had already made peace with the ending long before anyone else even knew. The custody agreement is perhaps the most emotional part. It outlines exactly how time with their daughters, Sunday Rose and Faith Margaret, will be divided. Keith will see them on Sundays and every other weekend, which adds up to roughly 59 days a year. For any parent, that's a heartbreaking number. For Keith, a man who has always spoken about how much he loves being a father, it must feel like a deep loss. But the agreement also shows something admirable. Both parents are putting their daughters first. There are no fights, no bitterness. Just two people who clearly love their children enough to protect their peace. Keith has already prepaid all his child support and nanny expenses, committing to roughly $6,500 a month until both daughters turn 18. Sunday will reach that milestone next July, while Faith still has 3 more years to go. It's an arrangement built on responsibility and care, not conflict. Another detail that stands out is the complete absence of alimony. Both Nicole and Keith earn well over $100,000 each month. Neither depends on the other financially. There's a level of independence here that makes this separation cleaner than most celebrity divorces. They both know who they are, what they've built, and how to move forward without needing to take anything from one another. The division of assets is just as balanced. Over the years, they had placed most of their properties, investments, and shared possessions under trusts and LLCs, a smart move that prevented any major disputes when the time came to separate. The paperwork even notes that all household furniture, artwork, and personal belongings were divided to the mutual satisfaction of both parties. No drawn-out battles over homes or heirlooms. No headlines about who kept what. Just mutual agreement. That level of calm suggests one thing: this didn't come out of nowhere. They had been preparing for it quietly, maybe for months, maybe even longer. And when you look back at public appearances from earlier this year, you can start to see the signs. At one of the major award shows, fans noticed how distant they seemed. They stood together, smiled for cameras, but their body language felt different. The warmth that once radiated between them had cooled into polite comfort. The truth is, emotional distance rarely happens overnight. It builds slowly, quietly, until one day, there's just no bridge left to cross. And maybe that's exactly what happened here. Keith and Nicole met in 2005 and married the following year. They quickly became one of Hollywood's favorite couples, supportive, grounded, and refreshingly private. But like many celebrity marriages, their demanding careers pulled them in different directions. Nicole spent much of her time filming across the world, while Keith was on tour, recording, and performing. For a while, they made it work, but two people constantly moving in opposite directions eventually start living separate lives. Fans often forget how heavy that lifestyle can be. It's glamorous on the outside, but lonely underneath. And when both partners are constantly chasing the next project, the next performance, the next flight, it becomes harder to nurture the simple, quiet moments that keep love alive. Still, they tried. They showed up together, supported each other's careers, and raised 2 beautiful daughters. But at some point, love turned into duty, affection into habit. And when that happens, no amount of fame or fortune can fix it. What makes this story different from most Hollywood divorces is the complete lack of drama. No leaked messages, no public accusations, no court battles. Just quiet paperwork filed and signed, with mutual respect preserved. Even their lawyers seem to have handled it gently, aware that this wasn't a war. It was a farewell. The official reason listed for the divorce is simple: irreconcilable differences. 2 words that carry decades of emotion. It's the polite legal way of saying they couldn't fix what was broken, that they tried. But love alone wasn't enough anymore, and really, that's the truth behind so many breakups. It's not always about betrayal or lies. Sometimes it's about two people growing into different versions of themselves. The same love that once connected them becomes the very thing that reminds them of what they've lost. Those who followed their journey might remember when Keith went to rehab shortly after their wedding. Nicole stood by him then, unwavering and strong. She believed in him, and together they rebuilt what looked like an unshakable bond. But time changes people, and as their careers evolved, so did their priorities. Nicole's world became centered around her acting and producing, while Keith's remained rooted in his music. Each demanding lifestyle took them farther apart. The divorce paperwork suggests that both understood this reality long before anyone else. Every page feels like the result of long conversations, maybe even acceptance. It's as if they both decided to part ways before resentment could take root. And maybe that's why it feels so peaceful. When you think about it, theirs might actually be one of the healthiest celebrity divorces we've seen in years. There's sadness, of course, but no bitterness. Just closure. Two people acknowledging that what they built was beautiful, and that it's okay to let go when love changes shape. For Keith, this transition may already be influencing his music. Those close to him say he's been spending more time in the studio, writing, recording, and channeling emotion into new songs. He's always been a deeply emotional artist, and this chapter will likely inspire some of his most heartfelt work yet. Nicole, on the other hand, has thrown herself into her acting projects. It's something she's done many times before, using art as both escape and expression. For her, work has always been a form of healing, and maybe that's exactly what she needs now, even though they've ended their marriage. The love and respect between them seem intact. Friends close to the couple have described their final meeting as calm and sincere, emotional, but free of anger. There were tears, hugs, and quiet words of gratitude for the years they shared. They didn't want to hurt each other. They just wanted peace. That's rare in the world of fame, where every breakup becomes a battle and every emotion becomes a headline. But here, we see something different. Two adults making a painful decision with grace. It's a reminder that love doesn't have to end in chaos. It can end softly, respectfully, and still leave room for kindness. Since the divorce, neither Keith nor Nicole has made a public statement. There have been no interviews, no official explanations, only silence. And that silence might be the most powerful part of their story. It's not avoidance, it's protection. It's their way of keeping something private in a world that demands to see everything. Sometimes silence is the final act of love, choosing not to let the world dissect your pain. If you look back at their older interviews, you can almost sense how much they valued privacy. Even when asked personal questions, they would smile, dodge, or gently change the subject. That wasn't avoidance. That was boundaries. They always seemed to agree that not every part of their life needed to be public. And now, that same boundary has carried them through the most difficult chapter of all. This divorce, in many ways, isn't a story about failure. It's a story about acceptance, about knowing when to. As their fans continue to reflect on what went wrong, one thing becomes clear. There is no villain here, just two people who shared something real and knew when to let it go. In a world that feeds on drama, that kind of grace is rare, so perhaps this isn't a sad ending after all. It's just a quiet one. The kind of ending that says, we tried, we loved, and now we move forward separately, but peacefully. And if there's one lesson their story leaves behind, it's this: endings don't have to be bitter to be meaningful. Sometimes, the softest goodbyes are the ones that teach us the most.